We can keep the chat going here.
And then it always gets quiet.
I know,
So
right?
Jamie, I'll tell you a quick funny story. It wasn't really that funny at the time, but kind of funny. But so I've got two kids, and we made an agreement when they were small to go to all 50 states before my son Robbie went to college, which we proceeded to do, during spring breaks and Christmas breaks and so on and so forth. But in the summer, one of the summers we went to Missouri, which obviously includes St. Louis, and we decided to go to a Cardinals game.
Great
And
move.
so, what's that?
That's a great move.
Okay. And well, we also went to the Budweiser brewery and so on, but and saw where Dred Scott was tried. But when we were sitting there watching the game, I scanned the crowd, and I think that of the however many tens and tens of thousands of people who were in the stands, we were the only ones not wearing red or white. It was obvious. I think, I had a blue shirt on or something, and the kids were wearing whatever they were wearing, but it's there's the spirit there is very, very evident.
It
Right.
is.
Biggest
St. Louis
question I have
Day.
for you in your travel to St. Louis is, did you see I believe it's a waste site or former building that's still smoldering in West St. Louis? And I know Angie Scarfino from our team will correct me on the origin story in the chat, but I remember being able to see it from the airport smoldering out. So I got to throw a little shade at my St. Louis friends.
This was several years ago, so I don't remember any smoldering buildings, but there were neighborhoods and areas where people said, you don't have to go there, kind of thing.
Agreed. Well, the Cardinals legacy is very passionate fans, but also really nice. It's like we have our rivals, which are the Cubs. And when we have Cards Cubs weekend, you can't get a ticket. You go to a Cards Cubs game in Chicago, you'll hear much different stories, a lot more anger and aggressiveness. Cardinals, I mean, even if we lose, we're still pretty good sports about it. So yeah, Cardinal, it's kind of a part of history of who St. Louis is.
It helps too when you lose the Kings in the NBA at the end of the 70s, and then the Rams from the NFL in the mid 2000s.
We don't talk about the Rams. We don't talk about the Rams.
I'm about to get banished from St. Louis after today's episode. So on that note, everybody, welcome into a Good Friday, mid-Passover, Masters Weekend edition of The Rundown here. Tom Gallucci, as always, with our esteemed co-host, Rob Chrisman, sporting his Masters polo. Looking good.
I don't even know what esteemed means, Tom. I've got to look that up sometime.
Not full of steam, esteemed.
Right.
Very different.
And Jamie is wearing her Masters ensemble as well.
Exactly.
Yes, gift from my
Jamie
brother-in-law
Mottern.
who used to live there.
That's right.
Who used to live there?
My brother-in-law.
My
My in-laws still live
Did he have tickets? It's very difficult to get tickets.
there. No, they do not have tickets.
My cousin is there right now. I talked to him right before the show, and he said it's going to rain, may get rained out, but he bought the tickets over the internet through the wonders of the internet for about $1,000.
The wonders of the expensive internet.
And that's dirt cheap for Masters tickets. I've seen packages going upwards of 10,000, and for about the fifth year in a row, I have lost out on the the worldwide raffle where you can get them at actual price for $150. So the struggle is real out there. But we can go on all day Masters talk. I want to welcome in a pair of guest hosts today. We have from longtime TMC preferred partner and St. Louis native, the SVP of Partnerships and Strategy at our longtime partners again with DocuTech, Jamie Mottern. Welcome in, Jamie.
Thank you for having me. It's my first rundown. I'm very excited, terrified / excited.
Totally understand. And a very familiar face to our audience, the hardest working woman in the mortgage collaborative, from my perspective, the host of the Last Week in Mortgage Today, as well as the star of Inside the TMC Family, our Vice President of Member Engagement, Faith Howard-Mooney. Faith.
Oh,
And
we can't hear you.
Well, let's move on with the show.
well, anyway,
Faith?
kicking off here, Rob, everybody wants to know, A, where in the world are you today? And B, how was the show seeing the boss with Robbie at MSG last weekend?
The show was excellent. You could not pick a more white bread, middle-aged kind of crowd, but there was some youth there, and that was nice to see. And he's 73 years old, and he played for 3 flipping straight hours. Never left the stage. Never left the stage.
That's crazy.
It was a very good show. It was a very good show. And I'm in San Rafael, California, a rainy San Rafael. I think people are a little bit, even though California is still, parts of it are still drought stricken. I think people are a little bit tired of the rain by now, but it's continuing to rain. So, Faith, do we have your audio yet on the?
Says it's right.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Let there be faith.
let there be faith.
So, and Jamie, you're in St. Louis,
I am.
and you just got back from, or you just attended the NBA Tech Conference, which is about an hour and a half south of here in San Jose, correct?
Yes, it took me a little longer commute from St. Louis to get there. There's no easy way.
Right.
Yes, flew in Sunday and got home late Wednesday night.
And how was the conference?
The conference was really good. I didn't have a lot of time to prep, as I was able to step in at the last minute for our president, Emily, who couldn't attend. So probably best that way. It was a lot of organic conversations. The topics and the themes really focused around emerging tech, just like we talked about at TMC. It focused on digitization and making smart automation, not just putting a bot wherever a gap might exist, but thinking more holistically about your automation and then executing with precision in a really myopic way. And then I think for me, partnerships is always top of mind. Can't imagine why. And partners coming together really happened a lot at tech. Sitting down, having genuine conversations about mutual clients, the struggles that those clients are having, and figuring out fun, innovative ways to solve for them. So that was majority of some of our conversations.
So I'm very blunt. Sorry. And I need to ask.
Yes.
I should actually ask everybody who comes on the show. The cost per loan continues to go up. It's over $12,000 now per the MBA. And one would think that with all the automation, with all the offshoring or nearshoring or whatever you want to call it, that the cost would at some point stop escalating and start to come down. What I imagine you engage in those discussions with your clients about why is it because some vendors hold their clients accountable for X dollars per month, regardless of if they're doing 100 loans or 10 loans, or is it, why does the cost keep going up from your perspective? And obviously I know who you work for, and I know you're not going to say anything that's too damaging to anybody in particular, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is an expensive industry to operate right now, between ever-changing government regulations that make it cost more to originate loans. That's fact. Using tech wisely is hard. Lenders put together, I've been on the lender side, you put together an ROI, a business case on we're going to implement and outsource these components to generate optimized operations. By doing that, we've seen it all the time. We're going to be more efficient and get rid of cost. Well, cost means people. We're going to start, could mean people. We're going to get rid of 10 FTEs, 1,000 FTEs, whatever it may be, by being more efficient. Instead of figuring out how do we leverage those FTEs in a more optimized way. Laura Escobar talked about this at the NBA Tech kickoff. ensuring that your resources are doing the $200 and $300 an hour work instead of the $20 an hour work. Optimize that lower value, lower cost work to be able to generate, realize those benefits that you started off to when you first got your project approved. There's so many ways that the automation implementations lose and erode the benefits, and therefore they never realize them and the cost stays high.
Do you find yourself being beat up is too strong of a term, but do your clients, are they, I mean, they're trying to save money, and
Absolutely.
they're coming back to every vendor, every counterparty that they deal with, trying to, get some price concessions to try to, lower their costs. And obviously that eats into the vendor's profit margins as well. And some tough decisions have to be made. I assume that you're having those discussions, and how do those discussions go? What is your perspective from a vendor's vantage point?
But you're right. This is a time when lenders are looking at every lever they can to move costs down. And some of those levers, well, frankly, not all vendor contracts are created equal. So even within the same vendor, each client negotiates from the start for their best at the given time. Our contracts are long-term contracts. Converting DocGen is a very intensive and costly, can be, from a resource perspective, investment. So nobody wants to swap that out every year. So they're coming to us, having conversations with us about where we collectively see our relationship over the next 2 to 3 years, and working to a more holistic model instead of just trying to cut my price now. I mean, we would love to be able to do that for everyone, but then we wouldn't be able to be here and continue to be the industry's best DocGen provider. So it's a balancing act we choose to partner with and help them find ways to do it more efficiently. If they're not leveraging eClose and they're already our client, it's a win-win for both. They're going to gain efficiencies by going more digital, and we're going to continue to deepen that relationship with our client money and closing loans fast. So those types of working with our client on ways to better leverage what they have goes a long way.
Yeah. Now, Faith, I want to bring you in here for a moment as well. Jamie, you touched on it in your initial remarks, just about the collaboration through partnerships and through the vendor community that you experienced at MBA Tech. And that's a common theme we hear out there in this kind of environment. Faith, you got the pulse of our membership. And I'm curious too, if you're hearing more of an open dialogue from the lender side of things, looking to be more collaborative with their third-party resources in the vendor community on, how do we work together to, create better efficiencies and reduce costs out there, maybe not just in a sole solution, but as it relates to kind of the overall ecosystem of the providers that make up kind of their operation.
Conversation about that at our conference that was in San Diego, and also in our collab labs. Lenders are looking to cut costs wherever they can. I feel like overall, I think our conference was really super positive, and we have a lot of people within our network that are, kind of trying to take advantage of the environment that we're in right now and grow while it is, as we've seen the cycles before. At least Rob and I have seen the cycles before, that that's what happens is people rise to the occasion, and a lot of people take this time as an opportunity for growth and for fine tuning their process. I think that our lender members would love it if every partner in the industry worked with them, as Jamie probably does, very collaboratively, and it's a relationship, and it's hopefully a long-term relationship for them. I do think that is what our lenders are looking for at this point, for sure.
Absolutely.
What do either one of you, and maybe this is more toward Jamie, having just been at this conference, so remote online notarization, a lot of people in the industry say, hey, we're ready to go, but half the counties we deal with in Arkansas, they they're barely coming off carbon paper kind of thing. Or I don't mean to pick on Arkansas, obviously, but there's this huge industry push toward that, and I think consumer acceptance, but we're butting up against governments, counties who may or may not accept it. Any chatter in the hallways there? Any organic, as you put it, conversations regarding remote online notarization?
I think one of the most common questions I hear personally is, are you seeing any wide adoption yet from anywhere? And the answer is yes. We do have some clients and we have some partners that are experiencing stable adoption. You can tell by some of the reporting and analytics that are available that it's not 80% of the industry doing RON. That's not happening yet. But the idea that a lender needs the ability to on demand have that capability is real. So it is asked of us regularly, you use for RON, how hard is it? Can I have that? Well, of course you can. Let's turn it on. And then they may use it 1 or 2 times. There still tends to be a let's use the most extreme example. Somebody's in Australia, someone's in California on their realtor's phone and they're trying to close, right? You get these really weird edge cases to try to close a loan, and RON comes in beautifully handy for that. There are a lot of really great partners that have amazing technologies, DocuTech being one of them, and we don't have our own RON. We partner with others who do it really, really well. I think one of the other pieces is iPen. iPen has really picked up in conversation because it still allows for that high touch closing experience where everybody can be together, but it's all still done digitally. So the realtors can still have their celebration with their bottle of champagne, handing off the keys. The title agent still doesn't vary from their process. It's still in their office. There's a lot of wins to that. You can see from the chat, there are a lot of folks that are talking about some new RON legislation that's coming. Thank you, Whitney. I see my panel co-host from MBA Tech this week. And a couple of clients on here as well, talking about how great and how much they love doing it and they're seeing adoption. So there are pockets of it. It's just not mainstream yet.
Thanks, Jamie. And to just remind everybody, you're here with the rundown. Tom and Rob, as always. We've got Faith Howard-Mooney and Jamie Mottern joining us today. And if you're not joining in live and watching on demand on YouTube or on the podcast, you're missing out on the interactivity in the chat. A lot of love around RON and helping push as much business as possible. Question or other commentary in there saying until large correspondent lenders start buying e-notes and RON, large-scale adoption by small and mid-size IMBs will be limited. Welcome any commentary from this group on that, as well as the question in the chat around adoption of e-notes and are warehouse banks and investors more willing to accept? And Jamie, I'll let you kind of lead with that one being central to your world.
We see a lot of adoption of e-notes, so I would say yes, they are more willing to accept than they were in the last few years. Please reach out to your doc provider. If it's not us, reach out to your doc provider and they can help you figure out exactly the specifics for your client base. We've seen more adoption of e-note over RON. We have a lot of clients really driving e-note hard.
Excellent. Pair rumors want to address out there. Rob, I've heard through the grapevine, so you feel free to dispel them if you like, but everybody wants to know, are you throwing your name in the hat for the president and COO role that you posted out there in your commentary this week for the Mortgage Collaborative?
I'm not. I'm at this point, Tom, I think I'm unemployable. Based on many of the conversations we've had on this show.
Fair enough, my friend. We'll have to find you for the next role opportunity then. The other one I heard through the grapevine, is TMC shutting down? No, friends, we just signed up for our 2024 summer conference in Denver. September 8th through the 10th, and they don't let you sign up for free. It does take some money to put a deposit in place. So, but dispel that as well. The state of the network is strong. Dispelling the
I,
rumors. Go
I
ahead.
hadn't I hadn't heard that rumor that TMC is shutting down. I do know that the Jim and David received their share of decent applicants from the ad. And it's always nice when I can have an ad that does get airplay like that. So I hope that that position is filled at some point. But as I understand it, the Mortgage Slabber is doing very well, and hats off to you guys. I'm not here to shout your praises and so on, but I think you guys are doing a good job, and I hadn't heard that rumor, so I don't think it's true at all.
Well, the Crispin commentary does
squash
not
it
host.
before it gets too big.
That's right. Crispin commentary refrains from salacious rumors, so probably why that's it.
Well, I need to. I'm not going to say pat myself on the back, but or tap myself on the shoulder or whatever. But I did post earlier this week a rumor. I said there's a rumor about Home Point, and you know what? I'm not going to make a market in rumors, but if you have questions about rumors, you should talk to your AE or your or the home office, at Home Point. And at this point, I assume the AEs are still employed, but of course we had the news today that the wholesale group is getting purchased. And so people can always, you hate to see people displaced in our industry, but they can always post a free resume at www.lendernews.com, and employers can look at www.lendernews.com for talent. So yeah, that's the big news today. An interesting timing on Good Friday when some people are off, and it's kind of a short day regardless. But yeah, that's an interesting, the not to rail against Home Point, but when you look at the wholesale environment, it's a very, very tough environment to make money in. And when you look at organizations who have pulled back, for example, Loan Depot in their wholesale group, you have to have a value proposition to brokers who are out there, brokers who are getting their share of business right now. What does a particular company have to offer that particular broker? And as I said, it's a very tough channel to make money in right now. Very, very difficult. So I hate to see people displaced, but it's probably won't be the last, right?
Yeah, this current
It's
cycle.
always a sad day when we get news like that. Home Point, to all those impacted at Home Point, we're thinking of you, and please follow Rob's advice if there's anything we can do.
And certainly appreciate you for that resource out there. Obviously, we're all looking to help our friends in the industry who end up being displaced, and we're only as good as your peer resources around you. And actually kind of leads me to question for Faith, because we lean heavily on that within the network, the peer-to-peer networking components through a lot of different member benefit initiatives that her and her team drive. I'm curious, Faith, what you're kind of hearing out there, maybe some overriding themes from within the membership as you guys prepare to kick off some of your virtual collaboration labs later this month.
I think that the one thing that we heard a lot, especially at our conference in San Diego was, and continue to hear that, is there not a lot of easy answers right now for people. A lot of people have taken most of the steps that they can take related to, reduction of expenses. Almost everybody has, had some sort of loss of people, even within their organizations. And I think one of the, overriding themes that we're hearing from people is the best resources they have right now in solving problems and figuring things out and reducing some of their pain points really is the resources that they've built of other people within the industry. And, obviously that's a big place that we can assist, not only at our conference, but they've allowed their team members to join one of our 12 working groups where they can be with peers in like roles of theirs, so that they have some sense of community and connection to the industry. So I think that the people resources are something that has just been a huge thing for people right now, just not feeling like they're by themselves, even though there are no easy answers to some of the challenges that they have on their plate every day.
So, Jamie, what else, going back to the tech conference, anything, what is you said the mood was good?
It was. There weren't, I mean, it was a pretty heavily vendor attended. 85-ish maybe percent was vendor. So not a lot of lenders.
Is that typical?
It is. It has been since pandemic. Last year is about the same. But it also gives us vendors more time to talk together. To have the conversations I was talking about earlier, because generally when there are a lot of lenders, that's our focus. Spend as much time with our prospects and clients and learn about them. So this gives us a little bit more time. And there were a number of partners that I've had sort of surface level conversations with historically that I was able to have more in depth, help me better understand what it is you do. Who are your clients? Where's our overlap? How can we creatively solve? Because honestly, we live in 30-minute meetings, and sometimes you just can't get there in those short amount of times on a Teams or a Zoom call. So this time and space really afforded that. And I went to a number of great sessions, they had some really good emerging tech demos. Sometimes it feels like it's the same companies demoing over and over. It's nice to see some names I had never heard of before and do some research and dig more into what they do. So I'm hoping to see that become more of a trend in our fall conference season to really highlight, TMC Fund is a great example. Who are you looking at? Let's get them at some airtime to broadcast what they're doing. There's a lot of firms out there that focus in fintech, emerging tech. How do we get them a little bit of spotlight on the stage so more people can have awareness?
It's a fantastic point. You've got to create that forum for the emerging tech providers out there trying to be the next wave of disruptors out there who just need visibility and the opportunity to kind of showcase what they're bringing to the table and hopefully help move us all forward as a whole. And kind of on that note too, just talking about some of the headlines out there this week. I know a lot of, rumored potential consolidate. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, I can't let the tech conference go, Jamie.
I love it.
So did you have a chance to go around the exhibition hall?
I did. I spent a lot of time in the exhibition hall.
Okay, so way off script here. Okay.
You have a script?
This is a very scripted show, very inorganic discussion we're having. But I keep seeing mouse pads in exhibition hall vendor booths. Like I haven't needed a mouse pad for a while. A month or so ago, I went by an Arch MI booth, and they had nail files. And I picked one up. So now every time I get a hangnail, I can think of Arch MI. But did you see any really cool giveaways in the booths that you thought, I haven't seen that, and that's really neat, and I'm going to snag one for you or your husband or whatever? Anything out there in terms of swag?
So I tend to be kind of obsessive about swag, and there's a nail file that's DocuCheck right there with me.
Oh boy, right there on the desk.
Put your address in the chat, Rob. She'll send it to you.
That's branded. I like the swag, but mostly I like it to be functional. So, I mean, nothing gets better than the documents from DocuTech. I mean, that's just like the best swag there is, because everybody needs mints. There were a few things that I thought were interesting that I swagged to get back to my director of marketing for some consideration. I'm not going to tell them all now because then I
what? this is a bear all show, Jamie. Come on. What, I mean, name one thing that you thought, okay. I mean, how many like foam rubber little banks can you
there
pick?
weren't very many. There were not very many swag. I'm also a collector of those like really nice notepads. Like the leather bound that are embossed. So I'm kind of picky about that. The amount of notepads like this I collect, I will take all of them. I don't care what the logo is because it's just scratch paper for me. I picked up some sunglasses for my godchildren.
Are they UV?
No, they look like 80s neon glasses and the girls are going to love them.
Okay.
So, one of our partners, okay, this was cute. I just remembered because all of my swag is in the other room. I did not have prep for this or I would have had a pile here. Our partners Bite, one of our LOS partners, they had the cutest Rice Krispie treats that were dipped in icing, wrapped with their logo, and they were Bite Pops, and they were adorable on a stick.
There we go.
Get hungry, you need a sugar rush. It was great. It had their logo. It was really, really cute.
Food
See?
science at work. Food science.
That's right. That's right. This is what you get when you join the rundown on Fridays here. The most
knew?
insightful information within our industry in the chat.
Well, and
blowing
everything's
up.
been cold for this conference season. We've all been cold. If
That's right.
anybody's been there that weren't cold, let me know.
Oh, bourbon
and we-
ice ball molds.
Oh,
Bourbon
yeah,
ice.
I didn't see those. Where
Yeah.
were those? That's fun. So we had little fans at our DocuTech booth and everybody was taking them. I'm like, who's hot right now? It was freezing. But everybody was taking those. We almost ran out. Which is
You know,
fun.
let's go way off script.
Oh, Lord.
Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Those big ice cubes, whether they're round or square, there's a lot of displacement. By the time you put one of those huge ice cubes in a regular sized glass, I mean, you have room for about a half an ounce of whatever you're pouring in there. It's really inflation, being confronted with inflation. They're taking up space with free water, free ice. I don't know. All right, I'll get up.
The bourbon connoisseurs out there are infuriated by that commentary right
Well,
now.
it
No
also,
doubt.
but Rob, it could just be nature's way of like moderation.
Oh,
Because it
Jane,
looks
Not
like a
something
lot
we
more
know
than
of in
we
the
need
mortgage
it.
industry.
I send out, Jamie, I send out a free commentary 6 days a week. I need all the alcohol and edibles I can get.
Well,
All
good
right,
commentary
noted,
in the
sir.
chat. Brian McCown saying he's bought socks in 40 years because of the quality swag.
Yeah, there
our
are
big
great
friend,
socks. There were a
That's
lot of
right.
stock vendors this time.
Yep.
That's true.
Ira Selwyn wants to know if you're going to use that hangnail tool from shout out to our partners at Arch MI to pick some locks on the side.
Whatever
And,
it takes, whatever it takes.
My-
The
My
struggle-
very
the
clever
struggle-
marketing person is on too. Thank you, Stephanie, because you're amazing marketing director. Thank you. She's
And
listening.
speaking of, well, shout out to Stephanie, but speaking of legitimate questions in the chat, got a good one out there about AI starting to make noise and relatable to the MBA Tech Conference, and wondering from our perspectives, what's the role of AI or what we see it as in the mortgage business in the near term, if any?
mean,
I'll take a quick
you go
stab
first.
at this. You're seeing it somewhat already on websites for different third parties or mortgage lenders themselves, as far as the chatbot leveraging AI technology to have with you a guided conversation. Our partners at Capacity specialize in that. But a takeaway from our conference in San Diego was be on the lookout for the introduction of AI guided conversation as far as your marketing towards leads and your customer journeys out there. And to take it a step further, what you may see is being able to take in some of your own writing samples and personalize your style of communication through a chat automation leveraging AI. But that's just scratching the surface. I see Rob's got a grin going, so it's commentary.
I haven't written my actual commentary in a year and a half, Tom. I just all straight AI, Snapchat, face, whatever. No, I'm laughing. I'm going back to your phrase about customer journey. The customer journey. I need to remember that one. I need to work that in somehow. I don't even know what a customer journey is. I guess I can
I
guess.
probably stole that from our good friends at Total Expert that obsess over the customer journey. So shout
Yes,
out
they
to
do.
them as well.
There
Check
we
that
go.
off my bingo card for the day. On the Good Friday edition of the Rundown here, I know we've got a few minutes left here today. Whole host of headlines in the industry. Rob talked about the Home Point acquisition by, I believe it was the Lone Store. We saw, letter to shareholders from another rumored candidate for the president and COO role at TMC. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, kind of his take on what's going on as far as the banking crisis, that it's not over, repercussions for years to come. But these events, not like 2008 crisis, but essentially that, crisis that damages reputation of regional banks, negatively affects all banks, in spite of the flow of deposits now heading into those top 10 banks out there. The main takeaway, I think, for our industry was just calling on some more forward-looking legislation, and that regulation out there ought to be less academic and more collaborative with the industry stakeholders. And I know our network as a whole probably couldn't agree more with that assessment. But any takeaways from your boy JB Dimon's letter to shareholders this week?
Whose boy, Tom? Who are you talking
Mine,
about?
that's yours.
My boy, Jamie. Jamie, who was predicting a depression or recession last year, or a banking. He was predicting something last year, which came out to be totally false, of course, just like most predictions. I'm fascinated with the flow of funds right now, Tom. When you talk about banking, and I've made this mention several times in my commentary, it's easy to open up a Treasury Direct account. It's like www.treasurydirect.com. For $100, you can open up an account and earn, 4 or 5% on your $100 or $1,000 or $10,000. And that's real money. And so we're seeing banks who are still sitting there trying to offer 0% on their checking account or savings account, or very low interest rates. And no wonder people are a little bit skittish after, Silicon Valley Bank and so forth about regional banks. I don't think they should be, but anyway, moving them to money center banks like Wells and Citi and Chase and B of A and US Bank, but also moving money into money market accounts, which aren't FDIC insured, or putting the money into Treasury Direct accounts and earning just a great yield. But you have banks out there who are seeing an outgo of deposits, and that those deposits actually help prime the pump so that banks can lend out to small businesses or jumbo loans or HELOCs or whatever it might be. So I'm fascinated with what's going on right now in terms of this, in terms of the flow where people are putting their money and why. So it's very, very interesting.
Well, and speaking too of updates this week, and the recession that you've predicted to this point has not happened. We got the latest U.S. Bureau of Labor stats and ADP's March employment reports. A little bit of a variation there. Bureau of Labor had jobs up 236,000 in March versus 145,000 in ADP. An unemployment tick slightly down to 3.5%. Labor force trending up to 62.6%, but still not quite at pre-pandemic levels, a little bit above 63%. Obviously we'll look at what the CPI has to say next week as far as it relates to updates on inflation percentage. But we talk about digging into those stats a bit, as you've kind of railed into. Hospitality, leisure continues to lead the way in those updates. And the biggest drops were kind of in the financial sector too, which is very real to everybody on this call, watching our peers out there as well. So, all in all, decent stats as far as job growth out there. To your point, Rob, the recession that was supposedly coming and keeps getting pushed out by a quarter is still not happening. And, you continue to come out rosy on your predictions.
No. Well, no, it just doesn't seem like it's right around the corner. We kind of veered off the topic here a little bit, but yeah, I was just in Manhattan, for example. I mean, I'll be damned. And I made a joke, kind of a joke in my commentary about I'm not there to spend, $40 on a plate of pasta with tomato sauce, but people were paying, and the restaurants were full. And, dining out is still very, very popular despite very inflated prices. I was surprised how expensive things were. Manhattan's always bad. Don't get me wrong, but even in regular meals that you'll go to in the suburbs, things are very expensive. So,
Not
and
only
people are,
expensive, but difficult to get reservations too.
yeah,
It's mind-boggling. I mean, here in St. Louis, it's shocking how hard it is to get into a restaurant that's been around a while. Like one of your favorite places, you just cannot get in, much less the brand new one. So people are definitely out spending. Somebody referenced IKEA in the chat.
the customer journey.
Yeah, which is great. Go to any big place like that. Parking lots are always full.
Yeah,
Right.
It's really surprising. Yeah.
Could agree more. And to your point too, Rob, and you led with your commentary on this today, if there's no homes to buy, then it doesn't matter what rates are and what inflation or jobs reports do to impact those rates out there. We've got to keep finding ways to get more inventory out there. So people can produce and we can all stay willfully employed here. But on that note too, I know we're running up on time for today's rundown. Gang, any fun weekend plans out there that you guys have going?
Faith.
No fun specific weekend plans, but we're supposed to be in the 50s. So that in and of itself is a fun weekend plan, and I'll feel like going outside. So that's my only plan.
In the Twin Cities, yay.
Faith, what shade of fingernail polish is that?
It is black.
Just
There are two shades in my rotation. Typically, it's black and it's Ferrari red, and that's pretty much what you're gonna get.
yowza. All right.
She's either in a really bad mood or ready to fight. There's really no in between, right, Faith?
And Faith, Jamie, with baseball back, any predictions for the Twins or your Cardinals?
Well, we always bet on the Cardinals. It generally pays off. I can't remember how many rings we have. There's a lot, more than two hands, I think. So
Yeah. It's
we're
11,
pretty
Jamie.
good. 11. Thank you, Angela Scarfino.
I hope Stan Musial has another good season this year.
He's a spry athlete.
He is with us in spirit in every game. Don't you worry. Every game he is there.
Rob, in parting for you, I want to know if your Warriors win both games this weekend, is there going to be a friendly bet and play between your boy and also rumored TMC CEO and president Matt Ishbia, who now owns the Suns? Maybe a friendly wager for the opening round.
It's too bad the Warriors find themselves in the middle of the pack. I mean, struggling almost for a playoff spot. I think, maybe we could have a friendly. I mean, I did text Matt. Robbie and I went to the Knicks game Sunday, and I did text a little bit with Matt saying congratulations. Your Suns are having a great year. So we'll see. Kevin Durant being out. Maybe Wiggins coming back for the Warriors. It'll be interesting. It's always and it seems like just like in hockey, the basketball playoffs last almost as long it seems as the season does. So we've got a lot of playoffs ahead.
An eternity between now and mid-June when the finals come around. You are spot on. And I guess I'll close it out here with having fun weekend plans, hosting the family for Easter, and shout out to my boy Brooks Koepka this weekend, the leader in the clubhouse so far. I've got a little coinage on him to win this thing at 37-1. So keep it up, Brooksy. And
is there a bet? Is there some sort of bet you're going to pay out whenever you lose publicly again?
I pay that out to FanDuel and the other online sportsbooks now available in the state of Ohio. But appreciate the Go Tribe shout out in the chat. And I guess on that note, Faith, Jamie, thanks so much for being a part of this Masters weekend rundown. And Rob, appreciate the attire as always, even if it's the only time you've worn that shirt.
Hey, same.
Second
Mine
time.
still has the tags on it, so that's probably shameful, right? Thank you guys for having me.
Like Minnie Pearl's hat. All right. Yeah. Thank
Have a
you.
great
Thank you.
weekend, everyone. We'll
Thanks,
see you
Tom.
next Friday. I Emergent co-hosting. I'll be talking about the 2022 HMDA data that just came out. So
Mhm.
join us next week for the rundown and have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.